All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having yourselves a fantastic start to the AM here. Happy Friday. It's been a very interesting trading week. I'm not sure why that's popping up. It's been a very interesting trading week here so far. And this morning, right, or at least overnight, we're getting quite a lot of like tariff headlines, things along those lines, right? I think Trump's been yapping away about a 50% tariff on the EU. And now we're cracking through some of those trend lines, right, that we drew out there yesterday. Now, probably the big thing, right, for us to be kind of worried about here to a certain extent is just the size, right, so far of this overnight move. It's about 1.8%, right? Something kind of along those lines with an implied volatility from the VIX of, pretty much spot on that. So let's just do some quick math here. We have an implied range here today of 1.5%, and we're already 1.8% down, right, on the index level, just from an overnight perspective. I think that creates a scenario where, yeah, today's like a very challenging trading day to basically get any follow through, where like the move has happened here overnight. Excuse me. And that just might keep things relatively complicated, right, for us, or it might just create like an extra little barrier that we need to basically wait for prior to being aggressive. Now, if I'm thinking about how I've effectively traded here this week, I think I've done a much better job of being patient and deliberate and waiting for that resolution instead of kind of like forcing things or doing anything along those lines. And today is going to be, yeah, kind of like the firm test, right, of that sort of mindset. And yeah, kind of see basically where momentum shows up, or how price action chooses to behave, or anything along those lines. So I'm excited to see what markets have in store for us here today. I think there's a lot of potential for some glory and for some really nice kind of tradable conditions. But we do want to make sure that we're being deliberate, right? We're controlling the variables we can't control. And then once we do have that sort of kind of scenario all mapped out and all put together and all built out, that we're just really kind of putting ourselves in situations where it's easy to be green, and we're putting ourselves in scenarios, right, where our risk management is kind of our primary focus. And then from there, right, we can build out things with a little bit more aggression. So last couple of days, right, it's been a pleasure trading because it's been kind of one of those like one and done type scenarios, right? And one trade, making nice money, and then walking away. And today, right, I'm hopeful to basically have that same type of kind of result, or same type of process. Obviously, I'm not going to arbitrarily cap myself on any decisions, but I think that there's a couple elements to consider there, right? Where if market isn't giving me that kind of clean opportunity here early, I reckon it has kind of the potential to be just like an extremely frustrating day, and setting myself up for an extremely frustrating day going into a long weekend doesn't really seem or sound like a winning combo. It kind of seems like this is a way for me to wallow in misery for 3 days, and I'm not super interested in doing that. I'd much rather, yeah, basically just have clean market conditions, A plus setups across the board, and then hopefully from there, right, we can kind of take advantage of whatever volatility is in store. Besides that, guys, I'm excited, right? It's been a really fun trading week. It's been a really kind of successful little run of form here. And I think we've fixed some of the risk management and like over trading and like that tunnel vision type stuff that has been, I don't want to say plaguing, but it's been making things more difficult than they need to be. And it's not to say that the market has been on easy mode here again, but we're a little bit more back to kind of like that healthy volatility is what I'm going to call it. And it's healthy just because it matches my trading style well, more so than it actually being good for the market or anything along those lines. From an economic calendar perspective here today, it is a little bit of a quieter session. We've got, a bunch of Fed speak here that continues to be the narrative for the pretty much entire week. And again, right, we've got like, some 10 o'clock data, but not exactly expecting that to be anything that particularly gets in the way. I think just from like a reasonable perspective, I want to be judging how strong, right, or how convincing, or how much juice basically is left in the squeeze, right, for the indexes in general, right? Like I said, if they're already down, 2%, right, or 1.8% with an implied volatility of 1.5%, it kind of gives me the implication that maybe it's not going to be the path of least resistance to the downside, or that's like not the easiest trade. So I want to make sure that if we do get that downside follow through, there is kind of like that momentum. There is that sort of like market structure where there is continuation of, yeah, basically that downside type thesis. And if we don't get that, then cool. We have probably a pretty good opportunity here for like a mean reversion day or a buy the dip type day. And again, right, with the headlines kind of in store, I want to be cautious, basically not to try to catch a falling knife. So there's reasonable optimism that we can have some good action here today and some clean price action. But there's also, like, I think a well-deserved level of caution that we need to deploy here. And if we can execute that here successfully, that's going to be a fantastic end to the week. So yeah, with that being said, I don't have too much else to rant and rave about. Yeah, really looking forward to seeing how the day kind of comes together. And yeah, let's start mapping things out. Good morning to everybody, and let's have ourselves one heck of a trading day. So first things first here, what's the count on ES? Let's start there. And then yeah, let's have some fun. Yeah, 2 out of 3 here to the downside without volume spot on, right? And then we're basically cracking that trend line with the overnight action, not necessarily anything else. So again, right, does give me some flexibility here in both directions. We'd be looking for a move towards 58.70. Oh, I mean, that's pretty far away. To the downside here, right? Again, this is where I probably need to be just a little bit more. I shouldn't say probably or more. I think both directions require a tremendous amount of caution here today. But if we can get that crack, right, maybe 57.30, right, is kind of our starting point here. We're at what, 57.60, so we'll go like 57.40, 57.30 down towards like 5700. Again, right, my biggest concern with this downside move is that the move has happened overnight, and I need that to be basically proven otherwise before I'm willing to be very aggressive trading this. Maybe the easiest way for us to be able to play this breakdown here this morning would be on basically like the bullish fake out, right, or the bullish failure above the opening range to then give us then that breakdown back down towards sort of like the pre-market low type zone. Basically, really, I just don't want to have any like, I'm not sure the best way of describing this, but I basically don't want to assume that the market is going to continue to flush just because it's been aggressive pre-market. I would rather be cautious and look for pullbacks relative to that, targeting pre-market lows, than I would be thinking that I'm going to get another equal-sized move here to the downside. Historically, going into a long weekend, the Friday before ends up being a little bit more bullish than bearish. Might support some of that dip buying thesis, right, or the mean reversion thesis. But again, right, I think we need to deploy caution either way. And then from there, right, we can have ourselves a little bit of joy. Okay, NQ, how do we feel? What's the story? What's the count? A little bit different or not so different to what we saw on ES? How do we feel? No, it will just be a 1 out of 3, right? There's no point to say a 0.5 because we have the green candle, right? So it's a green candle, decrease in volume, right? Gap down. So no need to, oh, sorry, man. It's early. You got to forgive me here. So it's 1 out of 3 here to the upside. And we're looking, right, either a continuation move back up towards that 21.2, or, right, we're looking for a breakdown towards 24. And we're at 28 here pre-market. So I'll go like 26, 25, 24, and then like kind of go down towards 20,000. And then, yeah, right. Similar story. I think the primary difference I would say right between NQ and ES, NQ isn't quite giving me that trend line breakdown, right? If we're connecting the same dots, right, like we are connecting here on ES with our trend line support starting there on the 9th of April, right? So we've got maybe a little bit of space to still go here to the downside. Before it's like giving us that quote unquote trend line breakdown. So maybe a little bit more of like quote unquote formal consolidation here. But we'll know pretty early on this morning on, yeah, like which I think which direction the market wants to go. And I think the opening volume print, right? Opening 3-min, 5-min, 10-min, 15-min candles are going to give us a really complete narrative, right, over how strong price action is. And if we can then go from there. So a little bit less to rant and rave about here on NQ this AM. But yeah, effectively the same story, even though yesterday's candle closed green. Okay, so CL here, we have a weak 3 for 3 to the downside. And I'm calling it weak because of the candle shape, right? So yesterday's candle kind of told me that a lot of that volume would have been dip buyers, right? Or kind of like bulls trying to defend those lows. Those bulls didn't win, and they're kind of getting their butt kicked here in the pre-market again, right? We were made a lower low relative to yesterday's low of day here already. So we continue to have, probably a little bit of like a downside bias, maybe that we're going to be hunting back towards sort of that 55 handle. Again, I would be surprised if that happens here all in one click today. But yeah, it certainly could be in play. To the upside, don't really need to change too much. 61.50 as our starting point is totally reasonable. And then to the downside here, we're going to be looking, we're at what, $59 here as our low pre-market. So I'll go 59.50 as our starting point, and then we can look for a continuation here lower. I think it's almost like I'm getting a W bounce here, right? Like here's W. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's not a W. Maybe that's like a. That's how I used to draw W's when I was a kid. Yeah, maybe want to be just a little bit cautious here. It's kind of like range bound, sticky price action. Nothing here particularly crazy or insane. So maybe crude continues to be a little bit more on the back burner, right, and a little bit more challenging to trade relative to some of our other tickers. All right, so Apple here, 1 for 3 to the downside, really big gap down. I mean, this would be setting up in pretty much every type of circumstances, like a mean reversion, right? Bollinger Band reversal type scenario. Overreaction gap down effectively, right? It's what it's telling me. And it's going to be a 1 for 3 here to the upside. Tesla is holding up pretty well, all things considered here. Again, maybe starting to look like it's bull flagging a little bit. Right, so it'd be kind of something like this. So if we do get like, a kind of a bounce day here on the indexes, right, or the eat up basically the selling pressure, I think Tesla is definitely one to watch because it's showing us kind of relative strength to what we've seen pretty much across the board. It is going to be, again, right, a 1 out of 3 here. So formal consolidation inside a bull flag. I mean, it all makes sense, right? So let's see if we can get a nice amount of kind of conviction here. And then we can go from there. Okay, so Microsoft made a fake out above that Monday high. Now it's breaking down, right? Pushing 450 here to the downside. Faked out, didn't exactly confirm that on a tremendous amount of volume, but now that we're making lower lows, it's hard to argue that bulls are particularly strong here still. Maybe, right, the argument is that it's like an overreaction gap down here this AM. But again, right, even if it's an overreaction gap down, it's going to close up maybe, 454 or 456 or something along those lines. And we're back to being in the middle of that sort of range bound range. And it's not exactly like, it might be a good thing short term, but if we want like a nice bit of trending price action, we need these lows to sustain. And so far, we don't have the volume base to indicate that we should be super confident that that's going to occur. All right, Amazon here. So it's again, right, 1 for 3 here to the downside, or sorry, to the upside. And we can call this a weak 1 for 3. Right, so we know, or if we're going to visualize that candle shape, that candle's an arrow, right? And that arrow is pointing down. So again, right, we've got some buyers. Maybe it wants to fill that gap and then go bottom up. That might be an interesting kind of scenario here. So let's see if that is in play, and then we can go from there. Okay, AMD. 2 out of 3 to the downside without volume, right, is going to be the count here. So reasonably strong candle shape, pathetic volume profile, big gap down. Again, kind of setting up as like a potential mean reversion type scenario. Okay, NVIDIA's got earnings on Wednesday. It's pretty interesting. And it's just a little inside bar here. It always annoys me how NVIDIA chooses to do its earnings like a month after all the other big boys, kind of get them out of the way. Just have to be the outlier. Okay, Meta inside bar as well. So pretty much, right, the formal story that we're getting almost everywhere, right, is consolidation. It's everything pretty much caught its breath there yesterday, and now we're getting a really big reaction here overnight. Let's see basically where that enthusiasm, right, shows back up again. Another inside bar here. And then the old Google 3 for 3 here to the downside. Maybe we now have this opportunity to, almost like a failed breakout. It'd be interesting. And then VIX has climbed since we started doing this this pre-market prep. So we've kind of gotten, it was like 24.88 or something like that. And now we're hanging out, 25.06. So the fear, right, is kind of really stepping into the market with a little bit of aggression. I like volatile markets. I think they're fun. I think they're a blast to trade. I think that they give us a lot of opportunities. But I think what they do, right, is they make it very easy to just like chase, and kind of get your butt kicked before the move actually happens. So if we compare volatile markets with a structured process, right, and kind of like deliberate trading plan, we're going to put ourselves in a really good situation to have some fun and to make quite a bit of money trading that action. If we don't get that combo, you know what? It's been a good trading week, right? We've had 2 really strong days back to back. If I don't place another trade here today, it's been a really successful week. I don't need to do anything else. I don't need to rush into anything. I don't need to force anything. I can just be deliberate, right? I can sit on hands, I can put my feet up and drink my coffees. I can give belly rubs to my dog. I don't have to force any price action, right? So to a certain extent, that's like a position of power that we can deploy here today, right? Where we don't have to do anything, and understanding that that should be our baseline, that we get paid for our decisions, not our time, is going to be a little bit of a cheat code, as there's like probably a little bit of chaos, right, to start today's session. And we see, crazy social commentary, and we see, people chasing and talking about, oh my gosh, I made 20,000. I made $20,000 overnight shorting this with 0 DTE options. Like, we're not going to worry about any of that kind of stuff. No, Ajay, I don't. I don't really, like, I'm not going to say, okay, VIX is up 25% or up to 25. Market's going to keep selling off here today. Generally don't believe that. The one thing that maybe I would consider is if there's like a divergence. So generally, right, when the VIX increases, the fear in the market increases as well, and so you should see the market sell off a little bit. If I'm constantly seeing like the VIX going up, and it have to be dramatic, right? Let's say that it now goes to like 28, right, and then I see ES pushing to like 58.50, right? And it gives me a big move in the opposite direction, then something there it doesn't make sense, or it's like not behaving the right way. That's like a divergence. But in my pre-market prep, no, I'm not going to complicate it much more than that. The 3 for 3 gives me a really good kind of starting point, and then more or less I use the VIX just to understand what the implied ranges of the market. So like how hard can I squeeze, right? And use that information more to help me understand, right, how things are going. If anything here today, right, it's effectively telling me that maybe the easier trade is to the upside, because the implied volatility is all, it's 1.5%, right? And the move here so far today is 1.8%. So from just like the information that I have here so far, it's maybe telling me that the move to the downside has happened, and maybe I don't want to be like chasing that breakdown, right, until I get some sort of proven otherwise. Now, it's not going to be like a fully restrictive type thing, but it just, yeah, kind of reminds me that, hey, maybe this could be a little bit stuck at this point, right? Or maybe that the move to the downside could be a little bit trickier, a little bit challenging. So yeah, I mean, for now, I don't think I have too much else to say. Anyone have any questions here this morning? How's everyone doing on YouTube today? Everyone doing good? Everyone feeling sharp? Love that, Brooke. Yeah, man. Let's have ourselves a great end to the week. Fantastic, Eric. Looking forward to it as well, man. Gonna be a fun day. I do have to say, team, I am super sore here this morning. I don't think there's enough protein shakes and coffee to make me feel to feel loose and limber. Went downhill mountain biking for the first time in like 12 years yesterday, and oh my gosh, did that thing kick my butt. Nice, Mark. Well, have yourself a great day, mate. Yeah, I'm honestly, truth be told, really looking forward to having a very quiet weekend. I've had yeah, people here for every day for the last week. So it's gonna be nice to have yeah, just a day where you can kind of veg out, eat some snacks, and just like watch a TV show for a couple hours and then go to bed early. I am looking forward to that very much. All right, teams. We got a few minutes here till market open. I'm gonna go pour myself a cup of coffee, spend a few minutes here, sort of visualizing a successful trading day, and then jump back on in a couple minutes, and we'll do a quick little rundown here before this session starts. Just bear with me here for a couple minutes, and oh, right now it's not the off season, right? Right now it's the bike season, so it's still chaotic here. It's still crazy. It's still crazy. I don't anticipate I'll do much biking on the weekends because the lift lines will be nuts. But like yeah, some like Thursday afternoon laps or some like Tuesday laps. Those will be a really good time. Oh, weekdays. Yeah, I mean it's still busy. All right, guys. I'll be back in a few minutes. Yeah, let me grab some coffee. I'm starting to get the shakes. I don't have any, so just give me a couple. I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, team. So market opens here in 20 seconds. Let me get everything set up here. And yeah, let's have ourselves a heck of a day here, team. So again, right, base expectation is maybe the downside move a little bit more challenging, right, than the upside move. If we could see a tremendous amount of volume at today's open, that's going to be kind of our hint, right, of how aggressive we should be or need to be, right, on such a big sell-off. We kind of expect for the market to give us more volume than we saw yesterday, right at the open. If we don't see an extra level of enthusiasm, that's kind of concerning, I think, in my opinion, right? If this doesn't trigger a flurry of buyers or a flurry of sellers to basically take advantage of this move going into the long weekend, I don't know what will, right? So let's see if we can get today's open to be kind of like largest volume of the week, right? Type sizing, and then we can go from there. So obviously expecting today to be a little bit chaotic. Maybe it takes a little bit of time for the market to mature into like a tradable range for us here today. And we'll kind of just figure it out, right, as we kind of see how things behave. All things considered, pretty good sized ranges, right? Kind of a healthy sized range. And the volume pace certainly seems to be on that largest of the week kind of track. But again, I mean, we're not going to get that on ES, but yeah, let's basically see how it comes together or where it comes together or what variant comes together here today. And then we can go from there. So obviously excited to be here. Very sore this morning. My knees and my elbows are all battered and bruised and bloody. But we got to fight for a living here sometimes. So that's the way it goes. I'd rather trade the market than be a UFC fighter, but sometimes you got to do a bit of both. Well, let's see how she goes, team. Let's see how she goes. Oh, and the coffee is strong and hot. It's going to be a good day. So NQ, really good volume to start the session off. ES, pretty good volume as well. And kind of looking like dip buying early, right? So now, right, we're going to want to judge in the next 20 seconds or so how good is the next candle, right? Do we get that breakout over and through? And does that breakout hold? Or is it end up being a fake out scenario where we then start to look, right, for this variant instead of this variant? Let's see. Excuse me. And we're definitely going to have mean reversion scenarios here in play as well. It's been a while since we've had a good mean reversion rip here. Pretty much everything going higher. We're both getting, I mean, both tickers here, right, are kind of maybe at psychological levels. So ES, right at 800, NQ, right at that 900. Pretty interesting start. maybe would have expected a slightly larger opening range on NQ. I'm going to be honest. You would have expected it to just be a little bit bigger here. All right, so what we just dinged there was the ES and NQ 5-min mean reversions. Effectively, these setups. So we'd be looking at a 21,309-ish, or 2139-ish. Looking at something like that. And kind of as our starting point here. So a 901 stop loss means I need a 26 or better entry. Need a decent little pullback here. All right, so I am watching here, team. I am absolutely watching. Let's see how this reaction kind of goes. Oh, that's a good bounce. Okay, so I'm watching here to the upside, right, on this old NQ. Maybe a one contract play here, right? One contract play. All right, guys. So I am in average price 26.25. Pretty much instantly green. Let's see how this thing can keep ripping. Don't like this pullback now. Better. Hmm. All right, let's see if this thing can go. I've not been super thrilled about this reaction, truth be told, to your team. Kind of been a little bit gross. Or like it's definitely not been a smooth move, right? Okay, those were 10-minute mean reversal dings. Those were 10-minute mean reversal dings. Hmm. Kind of a frustrating position because it was green right away, pretty much really good follow through, and then dies and pulls back. Kind of a worst case scenario. Why wasn't I stopped out there? I should have been stopped. For whatever reason, my stop loss order did not trigger. Not quite sure why. Huh. That's very strange. Again, should have triggered there, didn't. So I'm going to look for a manual close of this position here. Maybe I can get a little bit lucky. And this has been kind of a weird trade here a little bit. Still trying to kind of find my exit. Yeah, that was a 15 min ding. That was a 15 min mean reversion ding. 15 min mean reversion ding. Pretty much the same thesis here, pretty much across the board. And we get that explosion higher though. Hmm. Interesting here. Yes, Manjeet, I will always tell you when I exit a position. I will always tell you guys. I think I've been pretty clear that I'm saying I'm looking for an exit, right? I don't think that I've been opaque about that whatsoever. Manjeet, I was very clear in my trade that for whatever reason, my stop loss did not trigger. I made that very clear when this trade broke down. So please pay attention, man. Well, I had an execution error, Manjeet. These things happen. So I think I was very transparent with how I've managed this trade. Please don't do that. Like I've been very transparent from the very beginning here, right? That my stop loss did not trigger and that I'm looking for an exit. Complaining to me that I'm still in this position or XYZ, dude, that's not fair. I'm trying to find an exit. I'm trying to do the best I can. And I'm sharing with you exactly what I'm doing. I don't know what else I can tell you. Like, just pay attention, guys. I don't hide what I'm doing. I tell you exactly what I'm doing. I don't hide it. Like, I make a mistake. That's fine. We all make mistakes. But I have to be able to have the patience to be able to bail myself out, right? And have the discipline to be able to bail myself out. If I can't do that, guys, I'm being held to a literally impossible standard. It's just really unfair. No, it's not. It's not a great job, Charles. It isn't. Right? It is not a great job. That is also bullshit. Right? Like, I made a mistake and now I'm paying for it with a very stressful trade. That is a me problem. That is something that I imposed on myself. Right? Like, now don't complain that I'm not telling you what I'm doing when I'm being really honest here, guys. Well, there's a balance, right? Like, there's an absolute balance to it. What I'm trying to do is to get an exit back towards, right, or close towards my number. If I get some sort of indication of a, big bearish failure, then I also have to get out. There's a lot of like contextual stuff, right, that builds into this. So it's also thinking that, hey, the move to the downside is relatively overextended, probably not going to get a tremendous amount of follow through there, right? There's a higher probability of it finishing higher than it is lower. But having to explain this, I've missed 2 of my exit chances now, right? So, like, you gotta help me find that balance here. And I haven't averaged down, I haven't added to my position, I haven't done anything along those lines. Just trying to find a reasonable exit where I can cut and get out of this mistake. And if people were trying to understand what I would look for to now bail myself out of the mistake, that's the question that they would ask. They wouldn't ask something else. It's nothing to do with courage, right? I made an execution mistake. I told you in the moment that my stop loss didn't trigger. Now I'm just trying to bail myself out. If I can't do that and I have to explain it constantly, I don't know how am I supposed to behave within those contexts, right? We're all going to make mistakes. But now, if each time I make a mistake, I make one mistake once every month or whatever, an execution mistake, and I have to spend or do a referendum, right, on it, it's not sustainable, right? It's just, I made a mistake. I'm trying to bail myself out. That's simple, full stop. Like I said exactly in the moment, right? My stop loss didn't trigger. I don't know why it didn't trigger. So I told you, right? I should have been stopped out. I was not opaque about that, guy. It's not about letting me focus. I don't need, it's not like a different element to focus, right? But like if I say I make a mistake, it can't be why did you make the mistake? Right? I've walked you guys through this from start to finish. So let me just bail myself out, right? Again, these are just reversal dings, setup dings. So just looking for my exit here, right? And there's like, this is not a trade I'm happy with, right? This is not a trade I'm happy with my process, right? I'm actually pretty frustrated that I made that mistake. It's potentially cost me a lot more money. But if I can't communicate that I make a mistake, but then I have to spend 20 minutes explaining myself, how am I supposed to want to share that in the future, right? Unfair. And guys, right? Like if you ignored the stop loss because my stop loss didn't trigger, that's also a mistake, right? You shouldn't be happy to have held on to that trade. Right. So if you're setting your trades up so that you're waiting to hear that I've been stopped out before you exit your position, you're setting yourself up for a higher probability of losing more money than you ever expect, right? Right? So we're all human, right? We all make mistakes. We all have times where we, whatever, something dumb happens, you fat finger something, right? Whatever. That's a part of the game. But it's just as simple as that, right? Okay, I had a sloppy issue with my order execution, and that's it. And I was very transparent about that process the whole way down. If it is a surprise over what I am doing, then that is a you problem, not a me problem. I'm just going to leave it at that. And potentially, Rico, potentially. Okay, so again, right, I have a potential chance here to get a little bit bailed out. This is not skill, right? This is just luck. And so what this trade will look like in my journal, right? It'll be as like a red line. Okay, I am out. 931.25. So am I happy with that? No, right? But I made a mistake, didn't panic, right? And I was patient. All right, so now we can reset, right? And get back to where we need to go. Yeah, frustrating start to the morning, but it's a self-inflicted wound, right? I didn't tick my stop loss price, took an error, didn't panic. Well, trading at a fund, it's a different way of managing risk than the way that they do it here. right? Because they have a rolling portfolio, right, Cole? So like I would never be going all in, all out on a position, right? It would be let me get X, let me get Y, let me get Z, and then you to be long net short, long net whatever. So you'd have issues with like too much position sizing on for a certain thing. But the way that they use stop losses is different to how we use stop losses. Okay, so now we're looking for an upside move here on NQ. Right, and there is no FOMO that I closed my position here early, right? Because I got bailed out of mistake. So I wasn't owed anything here, right? And the way that they manage risk, right, is it's okay. Like we're expecting an interest rate hike. If interest rate hikes happen, banks do this and XYZ does that, right? So we'll be long banks, short tech, right? Or whatever it might be. So they're managing their risk in that way. Yeah, but it wasn't that the broker didn't trigger my stop loss. I just didn't tick stop loss right in my order execution window, right? I had everything typed I have everything filled out, but for whatever reason, I didn't I just missed that little button, right? And then effectively, right, was hoping that, hey, we're at a localized bottom. Implied move is so far here to the downside. If I can stomach it to a certain extent, I should be able to get bailed out. Not beautiful. It's not good. It wasn't a clean trade. It's not something I'm happy of. These things happen. So I have to be able to have the flexibility, right, to be able to manage my mistakes. And it's not about complaining, right? But it's just when I'm telling you what I am doing and I'm in a stressed out position, it shouldn't be a surprise what I'm doing, right? In any portion of a trade. So that then becomes frustrating, right? Because I'm already being transparent and I'm stressed out. I'm not sure what else I can share, right? That gives you the information that I haven't already shared. Just decreasing volume there on yes, I can't trade that to the downside. And there's I mean, look, all things considered, right? That trade, I compounded mistakes here pretty aggressively, right? So, I noticed that my stop loss didn't trigger or wasn't set or whatever it might be, right? Initially on that breakdown on NQ, okay, it then went to 870, came back to 908. I even think after the initial fake out, right, or the initial stop loss, it then went back above my entry price to like 37. I didn't take that gift, right, to basically get lucky. And then broke down, right? Again, went back, didn't get out. So, I did a lot of things here that weren't great, right? And mistakes compounded, and I got bailed out to a certain extent. Suck? Yeah. Nice work, Nautilus. It's a great day. Like, I will always share these things with you, team. And I think I did a reasonable job of being like transparent over what was happening. But if I've just told you, right, I didn't get stopped out, my stop loss isn't working the way I expect, yada, yada, yada. Next question can't be, why haven't you been stopped out? Crude really flying here. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, pretty challenging, I think, for me to get an entry here on this 3-min. Maybe on the 5-min it could behave. Yeah, I'm sorry for being a little bit stressed out here this morning, team. I didn't mean to be a snappy prick. Nice work, Mark. What a heck of a day, man. No, I don't think, I mean, I wasn't wrong, and that's why I was willing to be a little bit stubborn. But that's a dangerous thing, too, right? Like, being pot committed to the thesis, even though your timing is wrong, is a dangerous thing. 6 times out of 10, that bites you in the ass aggressively. And that was down probably $1,200 at one point just to make $39. Like, it was a pretty pathetic process. Okay, so maybe we have a chance here to play this to the upside. The 22-1, or sorry, 21-1. It would have to be on the pullback technique for now. And again, I wouldn't consider myself tilted here. I wouldn't consider myself that. I'm just annoyed with myself for doing something stupid, right? And doing something that was completely avoidable. So it's like you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I'm a self-sabotaging idiot, right? Like that makes you feel worse than anything else. So it's just me sharing my insecurities, not a reflection on any individual here. But yeah, just when you do something you know you shouldn't do, that's like unfamiliar, you generally don't do. And what was I thinking, right? Yeah, so let's see how this candle closes here, but definitely watching. Right, back up to the upside here. In this trade, right, it's going to be an over, if I do get one, it's going to be an overcorrection on really just being deliberate with my process, right? So like even now, I'm starting to watch this thing. I am like quadruple checking, right, that I'm setting up my stop loss the way that I expect. I'm quadruple checking, right, my position sizing. I'm checking my entry timing, right, or the price that I'm looking for from that perspective. So I'm going to force myself, right, to overcorrect that I don't make the same mistake I just made. Then I can put that in the rear view mirror, right? We all make mistakes. They happen and they suck and they're frustrating and they piss you off and they do all sorts of things. And then it's just making sure, okay, I know why this happened. Let's now overcorrect, make sure it doesn't, get back to a baseline, right? And then go from there. We shouldn't expect ourselves to be perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. Just have to expect ourselves to learn, adapt, and get better from it. And yeah, it's okay to be stressed out. It's okay to be annoyed. It's okay to get your butt kicked sometimes. And you have to kind of take it on the chin, right? To realize, oh my gosh, I don't want to feel this way again. Right? I don't want to experience this stress and anxiety again. So what can I control to make sure that that doesn't happen? And in my situation, right, let's just sloppy with my execution. So how can I control to make sure that doesn't happen again? Really deliberate here, really focused, right? Don't feel in a rush to make a decision and just like quadruple check every possible potential price target or whatever you want to call it, right? To make sure that I don't do the same thing twice. It's okay, guys, it happens. Okay, so now, right, we're going to be no entry here to the downside, or sorry, to the upside. It may be on the 5 min actually. We could go 909 stop loss. So would be the pullback technique. Be 911 stop loss. That'd be interesting potentially. Maybe I could go 2 contracts here. Okay, so I'm watching closely here, team. I'm 100% watching closely here. And I'm effectively using the high of the opening range, right, as kind of like my reference point here. I want to see the reaction, right, around that high prior to me being aggressive. Does that make sense to everyone? And then the other thing, right, that we need to add contextually here So we just saw the 3-min candle fake out, right, and give us a little bit of a shake and fake. But don't assume that the 5-min here is going to give us anything different. That's why it's worthwhile to be patient here. That's why I haven't executed this trade. Give yourself time to make that decision. Okay, so good reaction, right? Going to start looking for an entry here. Needs to pull back to a little bit further, right? Needs to pull back 36-ish or better. I'm going to say no, right? Not in this situation. Okay, maybe you can get to 2 contracts here again. Okay, back to 1. I might have missed this now. Still being patient to your team. Like, I think if we're looking at this, Eric, right, it's a breakout, pull back into the opening range, find support, and go. Right? So nothing here about this pullback and bounce off the opening range high tells you that bears are strong or that bulls are weak, right? So we know that price loves to fake out. We know that it loves to kind of bounce around and do some crazy stuff. So we can give it that buffer, right, to fake out a thesis or to fake out a low or to do whatever and still not lose our directional bias. Just means we have to be very deliberate, right, with our entry timing so that we're not chasing the move. CL just does not want to stop. Okay, so again, right, we should be in play here on this 5-min, increasing volume breakout, right? Should be in good shape. Maybe we can get the aggressive technique here. We've seen now bears fail, right, formally. Okay, so for now, right, we'd be looking at a 967 stop loss. Pull back right into that blue line of 974-ish. Again, right, sanity checking my stop loss location. Too fast. Let's see if we can try this again. Okay, give me a gentle pullback here. Gentle, gentle, gentle. Hey guys, so I am in. Two contracts at 77. Two contracts at 77. Stop loss at 67. And I just took the stop loss. So it worked this time. We can try this again. Stop loss here potentially at 960. Now 958. Let's see. Okay, and that puts me at minus 380.06 on the day. Okay, so now we can try here potentially again at 952. Okay, so I'm back in here, guys. I am back in. Stopped out. I'm not sure how to respond to that comment. Got nothing to do with it being my day or not. I refuse to believe that. As I'm always going to be willing to take a lot of aggressive shots with small risk. Clearly what my system is built off of. So the fact that some trades haven't worked out, that is 100% part of the expectation. Again, guys, let's not overcorrect here and use bullshit language. I mean, it's very impressive move higher. Not sure if I want anything to do with it at that point, truth be told. Maybe do that. You know, I still have no indication that bears are in control. Right? Each of these bearish pullbacks are on very low volume. And they've yet to invalidate our confirmation candle high. Right? So that's why I'm still willing to look for a bull case here to the upside. I'm just trying to find a good entry here, right? Or a good way to jump in without having to take a tremendous amount of risk. Been a little bit of a bouncy day, a little bit of a stressful session. Fundamentally, my thesis here hasn't been necessarily wrong. Getting just the timing right, have been a little bit sloppy there. That's okay, it happens. Still very much within one trade of being nicely green here on the day. There's no stress, like there's no anxiety, there's no pain. Even if I lose on this next trade, it's still gonna be a great week. Right? Oh, let's not get carried away here, team. Again, right? We're setting up for another opportunity or attempt for a breakout here. I'll give it 40 seconds, right? See where this thing finds support, right? Our reference price would be 979 here. Stop loss now would be, call it 970. Let's be patient. I'm watching here very closely, team. Okay, so I'm in. And I'm out. These are quick trades today. At least my stop loss is working. Okay, so again, right, we're gonna try this again. 960. Okay. So I am back in here, 977 on the dot here, 977 on the dot, 960 as my stop loss. Stopped out there early. Took the stop. Felt like I got stopped out at like 964 there. Oh, it's painful to keep wanting to try this. Because yeah, literally just it's shake and fake, shake and fake, shake and fake. Target is the opening range high price here, right? 21, 125.50. Be patient here. Just be patient. Okay. So I am in 967.75. Stop loss 958. And I have 3 contracts here. And this trade now, right? It's up $1,000 already, guys. So that's why I'm willing to take those multiple shots. We're just looking for, I mean, this is our confirmation candle here, right? This 1010. We've just done nothing to invalidate it. We're just trying to get the right entry timing to execute that thesis. Does that make sense? Oh, whoops. I put this in the wrong chat. Oh, sloppy day. I don't think I've ever put the alert in here instead of the setup alerts channel. Day of firsts. Got about. Fuck me. I have one insane asylum entry left in me. It'd be like this, right? Okay, so I'm back in here, guys. I'm back in. 970 entry price. And let's see if this thing can pop. And this is just one contract. So what's driving me the most insane here today is every time I put my elbow down on my table, scab sticks to it, and then I pull it off and I rip off my scab. It's driving me insane. Come on. Yeah, yesterday I crashed a bunch biking. Took two nice crashes. It was a good time. Come on, Pop. Here it goes, team. Here it goes. Now we want to see that breakout nice and up and over, right? Come on. Hmm. Man, this is not easy. Come on. Wow, Mark, congratulations, man. Fantastic day, almost 10K. That's awesome, dude. Hey, team, we're in good shape here, I think. Want it to sustain this momentum higher for sure. Let's see if it can pop. Maybe give me a chance to pyramid in here. Right here, 970. Stop at 945. It's in green. Kind of late stop loss. Okay, now it triggered 957 stop out, 957 stop out. Oh, motherfuckers. I'm pretty close to the max loss I'm willing to accept here on the day. Sitting at minus 1750. Little bit annoyed there because I had one trade that first or that one just before this. I was up $1,000, didn't take it. This one I was up 200. I don't know if I would have taken that, but bouncy dumb day. Oh, oh my gosh. Tried this to the downside now. $9.56. What a life. All right, come on, pull back just a little bit. Okay, this might be our spot here. Watching, watching, watching. Hesitated there. That's the baggage. Okay, watching closely here. And I'd be still willing to do this as the aggressive if I can get a 946 stop. Would also be interested in that. And just be one contract here, team, right? Just be one contract. Nice work. We can get two. Frustrating how the greed compounds. All right, so I'm in short 930.25. Two contracts. this. Oh, what a life. I really want to find a pyramid entry here. Okay, that's what I've done. So now average price is 924.38, and I have 4 total contracts. So let's see if this thing can break down here through 900 and bail out a frustrating day. Nice work, Herschel. Let's go. And my pyramid entry was at 918. 918. So we're in good shape here. And that I didn't like. That was funky. Breakdown. I have not made today easy on myself. Come on. Breakdown. You got this. Hmm. All right. I've just been stopped. Oh, this has been a day of micro disasters after micro disasters. And that was the stop loss where I got locked out. That was a lockout stop loss. I had chances to be green today, Benny. But you know what? I compounded a lot of mistakes today. So minus 31.27. And I'm not going to place any further trades here, team. Any questions? Excuse me? Yeah. Pretty much gave back everything I made the last 2 days. And it's annoying because it's just fake out, fake out, fake out, fake out. Been the theme of the day here. And just honestly made some dumb mistakes. I got every chance to be green here today. Didn't take it. Got greedy. Made things worse. And yeah, just not being able to survive those fake outs. Turned what should have been a 3K day into a minus 3K day. Oh, dumb, 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 dumb. Oh, fuck me. All right. Any questions, your team? That's good. That's a good question, Nick. Okay, shit happens, right? We're gonna have red days. We're gonna have periods where things don't maybe go the way you want. Yeah, frustrating from that perspective for sure. The thing that I'll do right this weekend, get lots of rest. Feel pretty tired right now. Um, like maybe a little bit burnt out, whatever you want to call it. Uh, Today I was very stressed in the stream for whatever reason, and so just having a break, catching my breath, resetting, doing all that fun stuff, right? That's ultimately what kicked my butt. So it was just being a little bit greedy, being a little bit burnt out, maybe forcing things too much, like trying to recover from the initial mistake and almost like traded as if I was owed the win here today, which is honestly just bullshit. It's not the right way to behave or the right way to trade. Um, so what it'll be is I'll spend probably a little bit of time here this afternoon, just like going back through these trades and just finding something that I can learn from this, right? So what's something that I can take that um that I can improve from or something that I can learn and ask myself why did I let my greed basically dictate my decisions? So effectively trying to find the answer for that. And yeah, it's like why did I let that frustration kick in here today? And then from there, right, like I have a little bit of a routine when I have a bad day, especially a routine when I kind of get my butt kicked. And so I'm going to find something that I can learn from this. Okay, why did I not take my profits? Why did I get greedy? Why was I unwilling to accept small wins and just let those turn into big wins as like a combo? And so I think I have a relatively good idea of that, but I'll want to reflect on that once I'm a little bit separated away from the price action. Because all things considered, it has generally behaved the way that I've expected and given me the moves that I've wanted. I've just not taken them for when they've been there. And then once that's done, no stairs here that I can run, or at least none that I've found. But I'm going to go find a big hill and literally just do hill sprints and um like beat myself up from like an exercise perspective, kick my ass there, right? But yeah, like force myself basically to do a reset. The reason why I like to do the aggressive exercise in those situations is because when you finish, right, the dopamine hit of the exercise makes you feel pretty good. Like I'm forcing myself to finish the day on a win, and then I'm gonna come home, probably sauna, nap, um, maybe jump in the hot tub and hang out for a little bit, and then pour myself a glass of wine this evening, make myself something nice to eat, remind myself that life is still good, get a good night's sleep, and then, yeah, enjoy the afternoon, right? And enjoy the weekend. And yeah, just like remind myself, right, that things are okay. Um, like every mistake I made here today was a self inflicted wound, right? It was one where could have been avoided, arguably should have been avoided. And I mean, the team, right, traded better than me here today. So there's a positive to take, right? All things considered. So yeah, it's just finding what's one thing I can learn from today, right? Okay, why did I get greedy? How am I going to make a plan on managing that greed there in the future? Right. So for Tuesday's session, and then yeah, get some exercise, get my ass kicked by the elevation gain, but then get the reward right of the dopamine hit so that you know what, I feel good. I can reset, I can do whatever. And then, can go from there. As for TV shows, probably not going to watch a TV show. Probably watch like some NBA playoffs or NHL playoffs or whatever sport is on TV. And yeah, just kind of like veg out right in the evening and whatever. So frustrating day. It's frustrating, especially seeing it now break down to these levels. But was just maybe too aggressive, too greedy to catch this move, and I needed to make it all back in one go here today. I don't like. So that's a bullshit behavior. Yeah, it's just reset. Yeah, yeah, 100%. And markets are closed on Monday, right? So getting the extra little long weekend is going to help, and just like kind of get like a little dopamine detox, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, like it's annoying. I'm sorry for being like snappy. Maybe that should have been my clue to walk away on the day. Should have been more proactive than reactive, right? Because once you make that operational mistake and you don't set your stop loss and do that kind of stuff, it's kind of like your body telling you that hey, you're not sharp today, right? And I ignored that. So thing to take from today, right? Okay, you make a mistake, mistakes happen, that's fine. You don't have to prove you're some macho trader that you can fuck up your rules, you can make mistakes and still be green. I think I probably ventured a little bit too far to that side here today. Like almost like tried to overcorrect to show how good I am and bit me in the ass, right? I think no doubt about it. It's impossible to argue with that. All things considered, still a good week, but it's just ending on such a sour note that it feels terrible. And like, yeah, being up 3K is not bad, but I should have been up 40K this week, and I'm not. And that's just purely self inflicted wounds. So I had the opportunity to make money today. I didn't take it. I got greedy. I know why I got greedy thinking back on it now. That's okay. And then it's about effectively like forgiving yourself, right? And yeah, not holding it against yourself too badly or whatever it might be. And then resetting, refreshing, recharging, doing something fun, right? Reminding yourself that the world isn't over. And I'll probably take a nap at some point here, like give myself a little mood reset and all that kind of stuff. So, ugly day. And it was ugly because I was ugly, not because of anything the market did. I had more than enough chances to be green. I just didn't take them. Even on the first mean reversion trade, we got that initial pop. We were green right away, up like $500. And instead of protecting my win and like maybe noticing that my stop loss wasn't set, they didn't do that, right? And so from there, things just compounded in the wrong way. That's the way it goes. The thing about trading, you have to be your own harshest critic. And I will very often, I can be pretty harsh on myself. I can hold myself to like a disgusting standard. Is a very positive thing most of the time, but it makes the lows feel very heavy. Today is very much one of those days where those lows feel very heavy. So yeah, frustrated, annoyed, but it's not annoyed because of the price action. I'm just annoyed at myself. So avoidable, and I didn't avoid it well. I let the thrill of being trading really well this week kind of get in the way, and I didn't have a very good capital preservation Friday. I kind of deteriorated both mental capital and physical capital off a little bit. All right, team. Does that kind of make sense? Like we all lose, right? It happens, but it's just disappointing to give it all back, right? Oh, a needless red day. All right, team. Final call for questions here. Final call for questions. And Manjeet, if you're still watching, man, I'm sorry for being a bit of a prick. Your question was valid. I was just stressed out and didn't regulate my emotions well. So final call here, team. Final call. All right, team. Well, if no further questions, I'm going to kill the stream here for the day. Have yourselves all a fantastic long weekend. Be back at it again on Tuesday, and we'll look to crush the market then, right? Kind of get back on track. Frustrating session, frustrating day. Degraded my edge here a little bit too much, and yeah, looking forward to a little bit of time off now, right? And just resetting, just chilling out for a few days. So if you have any questions, obviously same deal like always, hit me up outside of market hours. I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, otherwise, team, yeah, have yourselves a great weekend, and talk to you guys on Monday or Tuesday. Peace.